This is me. I'm Dave Evans, Dave Dev on Twitter. I'm a Xamarin MVP, and I do stuff. And I've been doing stuff for quite a while. And as a result of that, what happens is, at regular intervals, I set up a project and basically challenge everything. So all my assumptions, libraries, platforms, the very basis of how I work, I set up a little project and do that. And that works well for me at various intervals. But this time around, I'm in the middle of doing this. And I thought I'd look at some of the things that we take for granted as software developers, the stuff that's been out there forever, but we don't really know where these things came from. One of the first ones I looked at, is this curve. So who recognizes this curve? This is it's the accuracy of estimate versus time. This curve's been around forever. And you don't know where this came from because it just gets quoted everywhere. So what you can do is look back at the records and the references and the citations and find out where this really came from. And when I started researching this, what I found was that someone else had already done the work, which is really great. And that's a guy called Lauren Bosovit, who's written a book called, or he's in the process of writing a book called The Leprechauns of Software Development. And he's gone through the process of taking lots of things like this and going back and finding out where they came from. And he did it with this, and what he found was that it went back to 1981, and a guy called Barry Boehm, who wrote a book called Software Development Economics, and he produced this graph, and if you look in the book, it's exactly like this, except right next to it is a note which says this. This is just an example. It's an 80% confidence limit. There's no basis of fact behind this at all. So what's happened here is that the graph has gone through time and persisted, but the note that went with it has disappeared. So the whole thing has no relevance to reality. It's just an 80% confidence limit. That's what it looks like. This is the next graph that I came to, which was the cost of finding and fixing defects. And it's this beautiful exponential curve that starts at 0 and goes off into nowhere. And again, this is something that I remember going to conferences, and you would see this slide in various different forms, time after time after time. And it was used to justify lots of things that people did. And again, he went back in time and found it was Boehm again. And it was 1981. It wasn't the same book. It was a paper he published. And this is the graph that was in that paper, which is completely different. And it's not the top curve, because that's the total effort in the project. It's the bottom curve is the cost of fixing defects. And for a start, it's not exponential, it's a sawtooth, right? And next, this end of the curve it's not 6 months or 2 years, it's the 11th week. And the 11th week is where they spent most of their effort fixing defects. And what did they do during that 11th week? That was when they were doing the acceptance testing. So, of course it was. This is the opposite way round to what everybody thinks. This means that this graph shows that the exponential curve, or whatever curve you come from it, is not a intrinsic value of software development. It is in fact the consequence of the process that you're using. So I would advise you all, at times when you see things that you don't quite know where they came from, to go back through and challenge everything.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.